Hi guys, I'm Shmi. Hello, welcome back to the channel and welcome today to the Pininfarina stand at the 2019 Geneva Motorshow, where they have unveiled the new Battista. It's a 1,900 horsepower Hyper EV, and we're going to head onto the stand today to take a first look. I'll take you on a guided tour, a walk around of the car, and we'll also check out what they've done with the interior. This is a pretty special thing. There's a lot to discuss, so let's get started then and check out the Battista. Here it is then. Let's take a quick look around. I'm going to tell you lots of the details, the facts and figures, the numbers behind this car. But as I said, Hyper EV, a full electric car, zero emissions. This is just the first car from Pininfarina of a number of cars they're going to be releasing. Not necessarily all in this hypercar segment, an SUV for example, a luxury saloon, different models to come down the line, but this is the first. They're going to be making 150 units in total of the Battista. And I think we should talk about Battista itself. Battista was the name of Mr. Pininfarina, although it was actually Battista Farina. The Pinin was added because in Italian, I believe that translates to short man or something along those lines. And the family then changed their name and renamed the company Pininfarina. Of course, the Italian design house Pininfarina is very famous. They are responsible for the design of this car. But the Battista is built by the Automobili Pininfarina that's now been created using a lot of the underpinnings and powertrain from the Rimac C2, a wonderful powertrain system that combines the batteries, of course, for 1,900 horsepower and 2,300 newton meters of torque. That means we're looking at a car that can go to 350 kilometers per hour, over 200 miles per hour, potentially even more. Of course, 4 electric motors, 4-wheel drive system means basically launching instantly off the line, getting to 100 kilometers an hour or 62 miles per hour in under 2 seconds, as well as having an electric range of a good 350 kilometers or more too. So this car can do a lot of things with quite a luxurious take. It's not going for out-and-out track-focused performance, for example. You can see the interior, leather, comfortable seats, lots of customization available in terms of trim options, paint colors, and the like. You can see on the inside the display setup. We're going to come back and focus more on the interior shortly to talk through that. This car is painted in Grigio Lucerna. I think it's a satin grey paintwork, but with this additional blue stripe at the front. Part of the design of the car, one of the, I think, standout features of this, painted in satin blue Iconica, with that light bar that runs the width across the front. Some of those styling cues that have come from previous Pininfarina models, this being an entirely own design, a very smooth, integrated design. So for example, the aerodynamics, of course, being capable of that level of performance, the aero is absolutely critical to keep the car planted to the ground, and it does have active aero, but the design shapes are very smooth. The sides, for example, are very clean. The airflow where required, for example, into the cooling towards the back, is very much integrated literally into the bodywork with some very nice cues. For example, this piece that you see here runs all the way underneath to go underneath that rear wing where you can see it coming through, and in fact this is actually hollow. You can see I can put my hand straight through under there underneath those large rear tail lamps. So the active rear wing operates in numerous stages. It's currently sitting at the midpoint. When it sits flush down, it goes completely naturally into a flat rear deck, but it can also act as an air brake, going vertically up into the air to bring the car down to a stop, combined with Brembo brakes. The tyres also interesting, working with Pirelli, because of course with this much instant torque, no gearbox, you just pop it into drive, 4-wheel drive, and the ability to launch off the line, a lot of wear is going to go through the tyres, so Pirelli are developing those for the Battista. It's based around a carbon fibre monocoque with the batteries in a T-shape running through the central tunnel and across the back, leaving the vulnerable crash structure sections, of course, clear from any batteries and that side of things. As the car spins back around towards us, the full body is carbon fibre, keeping weight down where possible. You can see the exposed carbon inside the lamps. There'll also be the option for a fully exposed carbon fibre body, given all of the panels being made from the lightweight and strong material. This is the standard car. There's also a car we can look at behind, which is the Iconica version, but this is the cleanest in terms of design and livery. The Pininfarina logo and badge worn down here at the bottom of the front splitter, where you can also see some openings for all of the cooling to go through to those batteries to keep temperatures in check and controlled. And if I come all the way around actually, just to show you around at the very back of the car, some more active aero that's particularly trick. You'll spot with a diffuser. If I just come back a touch, this central section is actually active, so at speed that will lower down as well to keep the car more planted down at the rear. Obviously no exhaust or tailpipes or anything like that at the back, so you can safely lean over to the motorised rear window where your luggage section is stored. And also underneath the glass panel there, you have the charging port, which illuminates different colours to give a sense of the state of charge and what's going on at the back. In terms of the doors, of course, they are large pieces that open upwards, bringing sections of the roof with them. You can see the carbon fibre running all the way around that, but making getting in and out of the car that touch easier by lifting away the roof panel. But really, the interior offers a lot of opportunities for bespoke finishing, customization. And I'm going to show you this now in a bit more detail, and you're allowed to take a step inside as well. So let me do this just to run you through exactly what we're looking at in here. In front of you, you have the small but chunky steering wheel that's been developed with Nick Heidfeld, former Formula 1 driver, now Formula E driver. And then behind that, you have the trio of displays giving you different information. In the center, you have your speedometer, nice and clear, a small vertical display, and flanked either side of that, you have a lot more information available. So on the left-hand side, you can see the driving dynamic side of the car, the driving modes you've got selected, the 5 different modes and toggles that are controlled through this toggle out here on the door. Actually, of course, that would be neatly placed right beside when the door is closed, but this will show you and change your regeneration, the throttle response, how the car is controlling the power delivery, the torque vectoring. You can see some of the other adjustments and controls you have there. Your G-force toggle, it's in a display mode at the moment, cycling through different bits of information, your battery status, the car overview, the percentage of charge, your power usage, the front and rear balance, lots and lots of information through this display, both touchscreens actually, to toggle and change through different settings, your charts, your data, and the 5 different driving modes that you have here written in Italian, Pura being the standard driving mode. Then to the right side, you have your more in-car infotainment, your navigation, your settings, your HVAC, the air conditioning controls, your media controls. As you can see right now, that's all controlled through the right-hand side, through the touchscreen. But you also have some controls positioned on the steering wheel, the wipers and lights. Obviously no shift paddles because electric car with a single gear in effect. But you have a few controls around the airbag in the center. So the PRND toggle is here in the middle of the car, similarly to the drive modes, of course, park, reverse, neutral and drive, absolutely critical. And then around that you have this central console that of course is housing some batteries beneath. On the top you have inductive charging for a mobile phone positioned just in here, your park brake. This is the key actually, this is quite nice the way it slots in with the Pininfarina logo inside the glass on the top, the buttons on the back, but it's got a home for that there. But you can set the car up to be operated by a mobile phone, so it wouldn't necessarily actually need the physical key, but there is something about a premium car having a premium key to go with it. You have a cup holder, your volume controls, and the flags here, both representing the Pininfarina, Automobili Pininfarina, and the Pininfarina design house from Italy as well, working together on the car, and their first project of many to come. The dashboard mimics a lot of the shapes from the outside, so some of the materials and the curves all match lines that you'll see on the exterior of the car. I quite like how the speaker is actually integrated into the leather trim panel rather than having a traditional speaker grille, though you do of course have those slightly lower down. The triangles match the mesh up at the front. Maybe we can have a quick look at that again later on. The triangles that you see inside the stitching of the seats, in the centre of the backrest, and then the ambient lighting all around, just set up, offering different colours and settings, with a plaque there telling us the Battista, in this case the world premiere Geneva Motorshow car of this. What else is there to look at? There's a grille up here just in front of the reading light. Rear view mirror actually gives you a good visibility view towards the back across the lighting, which is quite a fun angle to see in it as well. The seating position very low, feet basically pretty much at a similar height to where you're actually sat, down towards the ground. Of course, by keeping the centre of gravity down helps keep the car flat, with all the batteries down towards the base of it. But inside it feels very futuristic, very unique in terms of the styling. Obviously this is set up in their own way, this hasn't been, I guess, replicated from something else. They've made it completely unique for this car. So let me take a step back out. Let's go check out those grills actually at the front of the car. It says gently trying to step out from a very low car and come around towards the front of it. Just in here you'll spot those triangles that I mentioned from before. The grille has the exact same pattern inside here as we saw on the seats on the inside. Carbon fibre splitter running around the outside. You can just see some of those paint hues and touches just extending all around the car. So yes, this is something completely new. This is a smooth and to use their terminology, integrated design of a full electric hyper EV. This car that's on its side here is featuring the Iconica package. This is actually the signature colour for Pininfarina, the blue Iconica, but the package adds a few slightly different design cues, some visual cues. So here in the centre, for example, this exposed carbon piece, which links up with the split between the wings at the rear. You'll also spot the change to this upper section of the bonnet, as well as the door mirrors having the extended shape to them too. So this is the optional package you could order. You could have the standard car, or you could have it looking like this, should you prefer as well. But mounted up here for display, the paintwork is very nice too. This is a shade of blue that I particularly like, that's for sure. And I think it accentuates some of the carbon fibre elements slightly more. For example, the exposed carbon that you have running around the front, up here where you can see some of the airflow allowed through that gap on the outside of the headlights, but also the carbon contrasting more with the blue down at the base. More of another view of that grille as well, as it points towards the front. Around at the back of the car, just so you can see a little bit more of this, of course the rear tail lights illuminated, but you can see how that wing sits flush, how it lines up with the bodywork, how it lines up with the tail lights, and you have that central section that matches with the front of the Iconica. Just another look at the charging port and the options for luggage you can have inside. But if you take a look underneath, you can see almost the supporting arm for this piece, but how the airflow is managed and comes around through and underneath this piece. Just a nice bit of design, clean but effective as well. Of course, no exhaust system at the back, but just to come and look underneath quickly, you can see how this whole panel is motorised and pivots down from the front to give it that downforce, and then would line up more with the side parts, which are actually, I would say, one of the more complicated pieces of design, just having that little flick to the edge parts of the diffuser, and of course all working for aerodynamic control, making it work well. And these exposed carbon actually contrast well against the paintwork that you have too around the side of this model, with the Battista name there, with this highlighting mark that runs to the A-pillar along the cantilever of the car. But good to be able to look up close to this, close and personal, and see a bit about the Battista. Back over on the main turntable, you have to remember that this is the most powerful Italian sports car ever. 1,900 horsepower, 2,300 newton meters. Those are some seriously big numbers. And of course, this is a highly limited car, only 150 of them being made in total. 2 million euros net of taxes as well, but the only opportunity to own the first such project from Automobili Pininfarina. And as we see it spinning around in front of us here, this is a very impressive looking car. It is smooth, it is elegant, the design clearly working well with the function that it offers, and no doubt quite an impressive thing to drive too. And I would love to have the opportunity to experience what this is like at some point in the future, to be able to drive it, to be able to see the electric nature of it, because this is really the future. This is the direction that we're heading. These kind of cars, electric is going to be the way. This is one of the first that I think really does this in that new way of looking like a proper car. It doesn't go too far, it doesn't go overkill with design, it hasn't completely lost the plot. It looks very, very, very smart in a very, very, very appropriate overall package. Anyway, I'm going to leave this one for there. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this first look at the Pininfarina Battista. But that's it for me for today. Thank you again, and I'll see you soon. Cheers!